Pepsi-Cola did not emerge from a flash of advertising brilliance, but from a frantic attempt to find a stomach remedy in the muggy back rooms of a Carolina drugstore. During the late 1890s, Caleb Bradham, a local New Bern pharmacist, obsessed over crafting a medicinal syrup to settle the gut while offering a clean, non-habit-forming kick. Even as John Pemberton struggled with his own opiate issues and the coca plant down in Georgia, Bradham focused on the digestive power of pepsin and the unique flavor of the cola nut. Dubbed Brad's drink, at first the recipe was a sophisticated liquid blend of sweetener, aqua burnt sugar, citrus oil, spice, and herb. Bradham aimed to market a relief for indigestion, giving rise to the name Pepsi Cola. He figured the heavy American diet needed a fizzy, enzyme-rich drink to act as a sort of mechanical oil for the gut. In its early days, the Pepsi operation was basically a small-scale lab project. Bradham had to figure out how to blend essential oils into a sugary base. Oils from lemons and oranges usually hate mixing with water. They tend to separate and rise, which would have made the shelf life of his remedy impossible. To fix this, Bradham used crude high-speed mixing and specific additives to keep the oils locked within the liquid syrup. That marked the origin of the signature Pepsi taste, a bite that was noticeably sharper and more citrusy than the vanilla-heavy flavor of Coca-Cola. Bradham was doing more than just pouring a soda. He was designing a molecular aid for the stomach that could be mass-produced and moved. But while Coca-Cola nailed its distribution model early on, Bradham's business was on shaky ground. He had no massive bottling network to rely on, and his finances were tied too closely to the volatile cost of ingredients. When the First World War caused sugar prices to skyrocket out of control, his chemistry-based business fell apart. Bradham bet the farm on huge sugar reserves at record costs right before the market bottomed out. That bankruptcy left Pepsi-Cola as a dead-end brand. It was a top-tier recipe that lacked a functional industrial system, and it needed a complete corporate overhaul by new money to keep it from being forgotten entirely. For years, Pepsi was a mere shadow sold for pennies, while Coca-Cola locked down a worldwide market that seemed untouchable. By the early 1930s, Pepsi was considered a bust. It collapsed twice and was offered to the folks at Coca-Cola for next to nothing. An offer the Atlanta board turned down 3 different times. It was a sequence of moves that went down as the biggest strategic fails in business. Eventually, Charles Guth stepped in to save the struggling Pepsi brand. The head of Loft Incorporated, a major candy and retail firm, Guth wasn't acting out of love for the soda, but out of sheer spite toward his suppliers. He was sick of overpaying for Coke syrup at his thousands of lunch counters and saw Pepsi as a way to cut out the middleman and save cash. He grabbed the naming rights and the secret ingredients, but realized the drink's technical foundation was a mess. The biggest hurdle for Guth was making the secret recipe consistent across the board. The old Bradham recipes varied too much and lacked the scientific precision needed for a massive national retail operation. Guth brought in expert chemists to lock down the syrup's flavor profile, making sure every single gallon made in the loft plants had identical acidity and light-bending properties. This was vital for the bubbles. If the sugar levels measured in bricks shifted even a little bit, the carbon dioxide wouldn't stay trapped in the liquid, resulting in a flat drink or even worse, bottles exploding from the internal pressure. Guth used his candy company's cold storage to move product, yet he still hit a massive wall with distribution. Coca-Cola owned every shelf, every bottle, and every customer's heart. To stand a chance, Guth launched a price war that rewrote the economics of soda. He started selling 12-ounce bottles for just 5 cents, giving people twice as much soda as Coca-Cola for the same nickel. It wasn't just a discount, it was total warfare. It forced the Pepsi plants to run at max speed, surviving on tiny margins in a trial by fire that would either destroy the firm or make it a global powerhouse. By grabbing old beer bottles that were everywhere thanks to Prohibition, Guth avoided the high cost of new glass and created a look that promised a lot of soda to hungry workers during the Depression. Pepsi wasn't a medicine anymore, it had become cheap liquid energy for the working class. Selling 12 ounces for 5 cents during the Great Depression was a massive gamble that required a complete rethink of how the factory operated. At 5 cents for a 12-ounce bottle, the money left over was basically non-existent. To stay afloat, the Pepsi machine needed to pump out double the volume of its rivals just to break even. This birthed the massive-scale bottling plant. Every phase from scrubbing glass to adding syrup was pushed to its absolute physical peak. It was the dawn of the spinning filler era. Instead of filling one at a time in a line, Pepsi hubs used giant carousels that filled and capped dozens of units every second. The main engineering hurdle for this rapid workflow was the logistics of the metal caps. At those speeds, the force needed to lock a cap onto glass had to be perfectly timed by mechanical gears. Pushing too hard broke the 12-ounce glass, too little meant leaks and flat soda. Pepsi Tech teams built unified gears that synced the filler and capper into one smooth loop. This made sure the bubbly water, which was kept at exactly 34 degrees Fahrenheit for peak carbonation, barely touched the air before being capped. This heat control was the key to Pepsi staying alive. By hitting the perfect fizz point, they ran lines faster than anyone thought possible. The Nickel Nickel song wasn't just a catchy radio ad, it was the factory's heartbeat. Every clink on the line proved that the system was built for total output. Pepsi had turned soft drinks into a basic commodity using their plants as high-volume weapons that Coca-Cola's premium model couldn't fight at first to cut costs more. Pepsi launched a recycling system where the 12-ounce bottle acted as a reusable piece of equipment. The plant became a cleaning center, washing and prepping millions of containers daily. This closed system let Pepsi keep prices lower than Coke forever, making the 12-ounce Pepsi a battery for the working man, a high-energy fuel that powered the country through its toughest times. In 1959, Pepsi pulled off the boldest political move of the Cold War. At the American Trade Fair in Moscow, Pepsi boss Donald Kendall nudged Richard Nixon and Nikita Khrushchev into a soda taste test. Khrushchev's public praise gave Pepsi the opening to cross the Iron Curtain, a place Coke was politically banned from. Still moving into the Soviet Union brought money problems that would have scared anyone else. The Russian ruble couldn't be traded, Pepsi couldn't take their profits home in cash. To bypass this, Pepsi set up a massive trade deal. They swapped syrup for Stolichnaya vodka. This made PepsiCo a global liquor dealer just to keep making soda. The biggest technical hurdle in the Russian plants was matching global quality standards. The Soviet Union lacked the pure carbon dioxide and high-grade glass Pepsi's master plan required. Pepsi shipped complete factory kits to the USSR containing everything from steel tanks to air cleaners. They had to train Russian workers in the science of cleaning water. If the local water had too much chlorine, it killed the flavor, leaving a bad metallic taste. Pepsi put massive filtration towers and carbon cleaners in every Russian plant, building hubs of American quality within the Soviet bloc. This wasn't just soda, it was engineering diplomacy. By the 1970s, Pepsi was running its own economy in Eurasia. They even traded for old Soviet warships and subs, which Pepsi owned briefly before selling them for scrap. This proved Pepsi could thrive in places where Western business was strictly off limits. By skipping the dollar for raw goods, Pepsi became the first U.S. product made inside the Soviet Union, turning the war with Coke into a global chess match that Pepsi won through logistical smarts. In the 1970s, the Pepsi Challenge launched an ad campaign that was actually a giant test of brain chemistry and taste. The data showed that in blind tests, people almost always picked Pepsi over Coke. The secret was the sugar-to-acid ratio. Pepsi was built to be sweeter, giving the brain a bigger rush on the first sip. While Coke was made for easy drinking over time, letting you finish a bottle without getting tired, Pepsi focused on that instant flavor hit. Pepsi treated the rivalry like a quick dash compared to Coke's long game. To win, they needed perfect flavor uniformity across thousands of trial spots. This called for a massive logistical undertaking. They had to keep every single tester bottle chilled to the exact right degree. Soda served at room temperature just doesn't hit the same as a crisp can at 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Heat lets the carbonation fizz out, which totally messes with the sugary bite and sharp tang of the drink. They sent temperature-stable gear to shopping centers nationwide, making sure every sip was chemically identical for the blind tests. It was basically weaponized science. They wanted to prove that our taste buds actually preferred their formula over the competition's labels. This strategy sent a shockwave of pure terror through the Coca-Cola headquarters, resulting in that infamous new Coke flop back in 1985. Pepsi used precise taste science to trick their competitor into a total meltdown. By mastering the taste preferences of everyday Americans, the bottling plant turned into a tool for mental warfare. This involved fine-tuning the mix of syrup, adjusting the blend of water and sugar to ensure a perfect hit of pleasure in every gulp. Pepsi wasn't simply selling refreshment. They created a self-sustaining cycle of desire. They showed that for the younger generation, a punchy sweet flavor profile could easily erase decades of brand history. The corporate giant had essentially cracked the code to our cravings, transforming a basic soft drink into a molecular powerhouse that could take down a king. As the industry grew, the company realized they needed a high-octane option to hook the younger crowd. They picked up Mountain Dew in 1964, taking a small-town Tennessee soda and turning it into a high-voltage industrial staple. The biggest hurdle with the Dew was its heavy concentration of citrus oils. While standard colas rely on a caramel base, Mountain Dew is more of a complex blended citrus mix. It uses actual orange juice concentrate along with brominated vegetable oil to keep those oils from separating. Inside their production lines, Mountain Dew required a unique set of mixing rules. That oil acted as a stabilizer, balancing the weight of the citrus with the bubbly water if the mixing speeds were off by even a few revolutions per minute. The soda would ring, leaving a nasty white oily circle at the top of the bottle that signaled a total formula failure. Plus, they engineered the drink with a massive hit of caffeine. If cola was for kicking back the dew, was designed as a high-action fuel. The plant had to be incredibly precise with the liquid caffeine, making sure each 12-ounce can was packed right to the legal limit. This move let Pepsi own the energy drink space long before competitors like Red Bull showed up. Mountain Dew became the brand's primary engine for growth, using neon bright coloring to create a look as intense as the flavor. This marked the beginning of high-intensity marketing. The factory turned into a flavor laboratory, churning out hits like Code Red and Baja Blast. By expanding their chemical range, Pepsi turned their manufacturing into a multi-layered system for satisfying cravings. They knew people needed different fixes at different times. Pepsi went with dinner, while Mountain Dew filled the energy gaps. This flexibility gave the company a huge edge over Coke's one-track mind, building a range of habits that met every consumer need. The biggest shift for the organization happened in 1965 when they teamed up with Frito. This formed the modern PepsiCo, a massive integrated empire built to dominate both sides of the snack and soda cycle. The plan was simple yet incredibly effective. Salty chips make you thirsty, and sweet soda fixes it. By owning both, they created a never-ending loop of buying. But shipping snacks and drinks together was a nightmare. Soda is heavy and takes up little space. Chips are light break easily and are mostly air. To fix this, they built their own direct delivery network. This was a custom shipping setup that skipped the usual warehouse middleman found in most grocery chains. Thousands of trucks dropped off both items straight to the store aisles. Run by drivers who doubled as sales reps on the ground, the technical goal was space management. How do you load a truck so the heavy soda crates don't flatten the bags of Frito potato chips? They built special shelving and shock-resistant interiors for their delivery fleet. This sparked a shared location strategy. Bottling plants were set up right next to snack factories to share power and resources. It was the ultimate industrial partnership. PepsiCo evolved past a simple beverage brand by fine-tuning the balance of sugars and salts in our snacks. They basically built the framework for how we consume calories. By dominating supermarket end caps, they unleashed a marketing blitz that totally drowned out their rivals. This massive operation eventually took over the way people's bodies process fuel. Whenever you grabbed some chips, their system guaranteed a chilled Pepsi sat exactly 3 feet from your hand. Call it convenience by design, a supply chain masterpiece that transformed casual eating into a surgical industrial process. Nowadays, the company's tech has shifted into a high-tech ecosystem of rapid robotics, water recycling, and green science. Current manufacturing plants do way more than just blend syrups. They function as sophisticated hubs for managing resources. Since everyone is getting healthier these days, these facilities had to transition from massive sugar shipments to a wide range of sugar substitutes. Today's production setups have to toggle between corn syrup, plant extracts, and artificial sweeteners without missing a single beat. This demands self-cleaning tech capable of disinfecting vast networks of steel tubes, almost instantly ensuring a classic soda flavor never taints a diet batch. These contemporary plants rely on artificial intelligence to predict repairs, keeping their spinning bottle fillers running at 99.9% capacity. They have successfully cracked the code on sustainable packaging, designing plastic containers that work within a fully self-sustaining recycling network. Engineers are even pulling carbon right out of the air to carbonate their drinks using the plant's own exhaust. PepsiCo's real story is about using nimble manufacturing to take on a giant. It showed that an underdog can come out on top by being quicker, more affordable, and scientifically more daring than the leader. The rivalry with Coca-Cola is still going strong. It is just being fought through carbon footprints and operational leanness now. These new age plants are incredible examples of saving water, ensuring every ounce used for production is balanced by restoring local ecosystems. The corporation stands as a testament to what radical supply chain innovation can achieve. It started as a humble drugstore recipe, but expanded to fuel the very engine of modern global trade. As long as folks crave that mix of savory and sweet, the brand will keep flooding every market on Earth with its bottled drive, demonstrating that in a fast-paced corporate world, the only thing that never changes is the hunt for that upcoming chemical rush.